Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Inventory, Visibility and Accuracy, the role of order management system. Before we begin, I'll just run through some housekeeping. Next slide, please, Jamie. Quick overview of the agenda and what it looks like today. So welcome from myself, Sabrina Smith, Head of Marketing. We also have Jamie Cairns, Chief Strategy Officer, who will be running through the challenges of inventory, visibility and accuracy, control over what you sell and where in each channel, marketplace or region, and not all items can be sold. And then following that, we will have Ankit Mehta, Senior Technical Consultant, running through global inventory. We'll have a Q&A towards the end of the session. Do want to remind you that we are recording this and we will make it available to you after the fact. And we want today to be as interactive and as valuable for you as possible. So if you have any questions, please use the chat box function in the webinar interface, and we'll address these towards the end. Finally, we do have the CCD vouchers that we are offering out to attendees, and we will follow up with these voucher codes in the coming days for you to use. Next slide, please. As a reminder, we have Jamie and also Ankit, who are joining us today. And without further ado, I will hand over to Jamie.
Thanks, Sabrina. Welcome, everybody. Nice to be here with you today, talking about my favourite topic. Fluent's well known as an order management system, but the most interesting conversations that we have are around the combination of inventory management and also the fulfillment and the orchestration of orders. So great topic today. I'm going to take you through a bit of an introduction of where we see the challenges, where our clients approach us about the challenges around inventory, visibility and accuracy. And then my good friend and colleague Ankit will take you through some of the detail around the technical aspects and the challenges and how we address what we call global inventory, and that's the ability to solve some of the challenges we're going to talk about in the early part of this webinar. So why don't we get straight into it? And the number one question our clients have for us when we're investigating how to improve the efficiencies and optimize their order processing is really around how they can expose inventory that they have to their prospective customers. And that is a much more complex world today than it was in decades and in fact years and months gone. As the consumer experience gets more sophisticated, they demand greater convenience and greater flexibility in how they shop with you. The challenge around inventory is really that which underpins the ability for a retailer or a direct-to-consumer brand to deliver on that. So why is it that in 2022 we still have the question of how do I get visibility, or how do I get a single view of accurate inventory? So if we look back at where inventory has typically sat within an organization, it wasn't always set up with the objective of selling across multiple channels. So in some cases, you've got more than one of these, and in fact, most cases for businesses today has more than one source of inventory. So ERP systems, great at supply chain and buying and organizing the financials of a business, and is usually a master system of stock and orders. A warehouse management system might also be a source of inventory, and that could be your own warehouse management system, or it could be a third-party logistics provider. Those of you with stores will also have a point of sale system, which is usually synced in some sense with the ERP, sometimes with the WMS. But the rate at which and the real-time nature of that synchronization is widely varied, dependent on the capability of the point of sale system. It's usually the one at which the rate of change of inventory is the highest, because it's operating stores with people that walk in. There's a higher turnover than sometimes in the warehouse. Not always, but sometimes. And more often than not, the ability to kind of extend range and partner with organizations that hold inventory outside of your organization, either further up your supply chain or partner organizations such as dropship vendors, further add to the complexity. So being able to accurately promise what you can deliver to a customer has become infinitely more complex today, when that inventory might sit in a range of different physical locations, but further complicating that, they might sit in a range of different systems, all of which need to be synchronized across each other in order for you to be able to accurately promise to your customers what they might receive. So I'm going to, while I talk, I can see Sabrina's face saying you've forgotten about the poll. So I'm going to ask you in the webinar, there's an ability for you to kind of submit your feedback to us around what you see as the biggest challenge, and I'll refer back to that in a second if you see that. So getting a view of inventory and a synchronized view of inventory is the first challenge. Historically, this was kind of called a single view of inventory. I prefer to refer to it as a unified view of inventory, because actually having a single view isn't as advantageous as it might seem. Typically, retailers are selling across a range of different locations, potentially geographically, that might share inventory, selling across a range of different channels, your own website, partner websites, marketplaces, etc. Being able to create a unified view, but then split that view and offer it across a range of different locations can be a challenge. Being able to sell product that sits in one physical geography in another geography is another challenge. So an order management system and the role of the inventory component within that order management system is designed to address this challenge. So not only that, once we try to sell across a range of different channels, there's also a number of reasons why you might not want to sell everything. And Ankit will talk about this in some detail as to how you create exclusions and things you can't. Some for very well-designed reasons, in that you might want to limit the amount of stock that's available in a particular channel. But likewise, the world isn't perfect. So if you expose all of your inventory from a particular location, but something's damaged, it's on display, the shrinkage occurs, and an inventory recount needs to take place. So having the flexibility to be able to adapt to not only what you have, but what you want to be able to sell, where you want to sell it, is the predominant challenge that we see. So just a second, I'll see if we've got the results of that poll, which I do not yet.
No, we're still waiting for them to come in. So just,
okay. So I'll talk a little bit about, and I won't talk in too much detail about this because Ankit is absolutely going to take you through it shortly. But just to kind of summarize what we tend to see is that the order management system sits at the heart of a omni-channel or a multi-channel operation. I talked a little bit earlier on about the range of different channels, and this is a proliferation. So this is a view as of a fictitious retailer, but this range of channels is ever expanding. We're all kind of familiar with online and mobile. There are stores that are putting kiosks in and marketplaces, and you can read the rest of the slides, but I think we'll all probably agree that the range of channels on which consumers would like to be able to access your product has enhanced significantly. And if you're successful in attracting those customers, hopefully they place orders with you. Once they've placed orders, they need to receive order updates from you. And an order management system has typically been seen as the tool to deliver that ability to take an order and to fulfill it from somewhere. But in order to be able to take those orders in the first place, really you need to be able to accurately present what's available to sell in a convenient manner with many different delivery or collection options, and also be able to see how inventory changes. So this range of different locations of inventory tends to be synchronized into the order management system, where the order management system essentially becomes not necessarily the inventory master for your organization, but certainly the availability master. So we talk a lot about inventory availability as opposed to inventory management. So this is really where we see the order management system. So at its core, that underlying view of inventory, then allowing order fulfillment to take place off the back of that. So the results of the polls are in, and this will certainly come into the stuff that Ankit's talking about, and I think is fairly consistent with what we see, is that the biggest challenges are around visibility of inventory, and as a result, overselling. So we see overselling happening a lot. It's one of the biggest challenges to customer experience. Attracting somebody, taking the sale, enticing them to buy, checking out, and then realizing that you don't have it to fulfill is a terrible customer experience, and one that challenges retailers significantly. So good to hear from you, the audience, that the challenges are consistent with what we see. So order management system tends to sit at the center of a logical architecture. We see real time and batch updates from various different systems, and those systems weren't always designed to communicate with online or commerce platforms, for example. So having Fluent or an order management system in the middle allows you to synchronize all of that information, being able to provide that then to a range of different channels via API. A modern architecture has all of the different components decoupled, so you don't have a marketplace plugged into your ERP system looking for inventory, which was never designed to be able to deliver it in real time. It doesn't scale, doesn't allow you to grow your business. And we see, and again, this is I don't want to steal Ankit's thunder, because the ability to tailor what you make available to sell across regions and across channels is really significant. So being able to segment that view of inventory, being able to really efficiently use it so that you can turn that inventory as quickly as possible, so you can make most efficient use of it. So you can sell down to the last unit of inventory in each location, so you can minimize the amount of markdowns and preserve your gross margins. So there's a lot of techniques that you can use to dynamically adjust what's available to sell in which channel or in which geography. And that's really the smart optimization that an order management system with inventory at its core that can bring to a multi-channel proposition. So just to summarize briefly what we see as the solution or the challenge and the opportunity that global inventory. So getting a unified view of that inventory. Almost all of our clients talk to us about extending the range and availability of stock that they can present to their customers in order to maximize the opportunity. Being able to control what and where you sell, consistent with the poll feedback, avoiding overselling. We all want to avoid underselling, but actually I think a bigger challenge to customer experience is overselling. And reducing the carrying costs of inventory. So if you're leveraging store inventory to fulfill online orders, you're making sure that you sell as deeply into the inventory pool as you can, is really the way to optimize a business. So I'm going to hand over to Ankit now, who's going to take you through in a little bit more detail how global inventory can help support how you can address some of those challenges.
Thanks, Jamie, and welcome everyone to this webinar where we take a stab at inventory, which is like the most sought out pillar of any e-com system. So, and as we found from the poll as well, the enterprise inventory availability can be a challenge. So today we are going to have a look at Fluent's inventory management module, which we call it as global inventory. And that gives you a complete control over how inventory updates are managed, processed, and surfaced to various sales channels. So we are going to have a look at the four main components of global inventory, which are product catalog, inventory catalog, control groups, and virtual catalog. We'll have a look at each of these one in detail. Let's start with product catalog. So product catalog contains all the product information imported from the product master. And a product master could be a PIM or an ERP, or it could be an e-commerce system in some instances. In Fluent's world, we call a base product as a standard product. So for instance, it could be a 2-person alpine spirit tent, while it could actually be split into the various SKUs based on some characteristics like color or size. So in this case, it could be a SKU could be a blue alpine tent or purple or green one. Now, another entity in Fluent's product catalog is category, which is actually used to organize products. There could be a category for hiking and camping, under which tents or hiking poles could be the base products. Or you can add a subcategory for tents. Again, another entity to manage bundles and kits. We call it as group products, where we can sell a 2-person alpine tent along with the pegs to hold the tent as a bundle. Next, you can add some attributes to the various products. Like you can mark a product as fragile just to stop it being shipped from a store. And you always want to have it properly packaged from a warehouse. So such product attributes can again be added as part of the product catalog. Next, let's have a look at inventory catalog. So the inventory catalog serves as a master of inventory in Fluent order management. So it maintains the records of inventory position for each SKU at a particular location. And it can be extended to track the inventory that is just not on hand, but maybe for in-transit inventories like pre-orders or back orders. Now let's see how it actually works. So in this flow, an inventory catalog workflow actually needs 3 different data to get the inventory position processed. Let's start with the first one, last on hand stock. So this is the stock on hand figure, which is usually supplied by the source of inventory, which could be an ERP or a warehouse management system, could be POS, or maybe a third-party vendor management system. The next data which is required by inventory catalog is product updates coming in through product catalog. So if a product is, say, marked as discontinued, so the product status gets to inactive. So such kind of feeds are regularly passed on to inventory catalog from the product catalog. And third, and one of the most important piece is inventory updates coming from order management workflow. So as Fluent processes any order, it makes some reservations for sales. It may make some inventory adjustments for cancellations or for returns. And when all of these 3 data combine into inventory catalog workflow, the engine processes it and comes up with an inventory position, which is saved in the inventory catalog. Let's have a look at control groups, which is basically what Jamie mentioned in one of the slides. Is what if you don't want to expose all of your inventory to every channel? So how do you slice and dice your inventory? So this is where control groups comes handy. So control groups are actually the rules or controls that determines what inventory is available for which sales channel. Now, together they let you segment your inventory so that you can control what the available to sell for each channel would look like. Let's get into some details. Basically, there are 2 types of controls in Fluent. So one group is buffer stocks and another is exclusions. Buffer stock is basically a number of units which you don't want to sell online. So if the total available to sell figure goes below the buffer stock quantity, your ATS actually becomes zero and the product is not made available to any of the online sales channel. Exclusion is not dependent on inventory quantity. Exclusions are a way to completely get rid of any product or a category from an online sales channel. Say, for a particular sales channel, you don't want to sell a product. So there are like various use cases where we can use exclusions. Could be just to test sale of a new product in a single geographic location. Or you could limit the range of products you offer for sale on marketplaces. Or you may just wish to expand into a new geographic regions with a limited product range. So you keep a few products in there and exclude rest which you don't want to show or to sell on a particular sales channel. So the possibilities are endless. But the key is control groups provide a way to manage it in Fluent Commerce. Now, lastly, let's have a look at virtual catalog. So virtual catalog is a way to maintain what the available to sell figure would look like. So once you have inventory, then you apply controls on top of it. Then the final figure is maintained in virtual catalog, which is then made available for the sales channel. Let's have a look at how virtual catalog works. It again needs data from two sources, starting with inventory catalog at the top, which provides the inventory position figure, and control group at the bottom, which provides the buffers and exclusions to be applied for a particular inventory position. Now, this calculated available to sell, which comes out of the virtual catalog workflow, is then saved in a virtual catalog. And additionally, you can add some business logic around how do you want to slice and dice the inventory after application of buffers, so that you could maybe want to allocate some inventory to a particular sales channel. And that's how you could control how the ATS is surfaced to that specific sales channel. Now let's have a look on how virtual positions are actually calculated. So your SKU for a t-shirt located at the location A, and the total number of quantities we have is 15. So 15 is the actual physical stock on hand you got at location A for this t-shirt. So there could be multiple products in our catalog. So the inventory catalog would look like something 15 t-shirts, 3 pants, then again 7 t-shirts at location B. So this is the stock on hand figure for each location for these products. This is what we maintain in inventory catalog. Now we want to apply a buffer of 5 units per location, as well as we want to exclude, say, the pants, where we want to investigate some quality issue with those pants. So we don't want to sell them anymore. And location B could be offline, maybe power outage. So we don't want to send anything from location B as well. So once the buffers and exclusions are applied on the inventory positions, we get the final available to sell figure with just 10 t-shirts available at location A, We don't have any pens because pens are excluded. And we don't have any t-shirts coming from location B because location B is excluded. No available to sell for the last two. And the ATP calculated in the last slide would be saved in one of the virtual catalogs. And these virtual catalogs can then be surfaced to different sales channels. So a virtual catalog for home delivery could be used by the e-commerce site as well as by the tablets in store. And similarly, you could have a virtual catalog for marketplaces. So again, the possibilities are endless. Now, once we have looked about these three in silos, let's try to put these things together and see an end-to-end inventory update process. Starting with, when a new last on-hand figure arrives from the ERP, for instance, it goes into inventory catalog, as well as the product status updates coming in, say, maybe from the PIM, goes into inventory catalog. That gives the inventory position to be saved in the inventory catalog. Now, using that inventory position, we could apply some buffers and exclusions on top of it and calculate a virtual position using the virtual catalog workflow. And that virtual position will be saved in the virtual catalog. Now, this virtual catalog can then be surfaced to, say, an e-commerce website where the customer browses and he would see the most up-to-date stock information from the virtual catalog. Next, as customer places an order that is being processed by Fluent's order management workflow, and as a result of that, it will send an inventory status change or adjustments to the inventory catalog workflow for any sales, reservations, cancellations, which then updates the inventory catalog, sends this update to virtual catalog. So the next calculation for virtual catalog will again begin. It will look for what all buffers and exclusions are there to be applied. And a fresh available to promise figure is then calculated, which is saved in virtual catalog and made it available to e-commerce in near real time. Similar inventory adjustments could come from other places as well, like return order workflow. So while processing any return, there could be a bump up in the total inventory figure, which is then fed into inventory catalog workflow. So it looks like a lot of processing, right? But don't worry, it all happens in near real time. And the virtual catalogs are always updated constantly. So this is the high-level inventory flow with Fluent, with a single goal of maintaining accurate inventory levels as per your need. With this, Sabrina, maybe we can take some questions now.
Sure, thank you, Ankit. We have had one through actually. If you could help answer, what is the role that in-transit inventory plays in inventory accuracy for today's scenario?
Right. I think it directly relates to the retailer's lead time and the delivery window. Like, if your lead time is proportional to the windows, then the in-transit inventory plays a vital role in calculating the available to promise. Like a furniture retailer where we have a longer lead time, where like the sofas are shipped from China, which will arrive to your warehouses maybe in a month's time. But since you know it's already in transit, you actually want to accept customers' order without having a stock on hand actually. Otherwise, if you just consider your stock on hand figures, you actually cannibalize your orders. You will undersell, as we discussed earlier. So considering in-transit inventory for availability promise, but not for fulfillment, is one of the key options to go for. And with Fluent, we can have a dedicated inventory catalog to maintain those in-transit inventories and just surface it as part of the availability promise, but not for fulfillments. Sabrina.
Great, thank you. Another one through, Jamie, perhaps you could answer this. In an ideal world, a retailer should take care of all of the aspects together, but in the real world, that can't always happen. What aspects should a retailer focus on first? Getting real-time accurate visibility of inventory across all of the locations, or on orchestrating and fulfilling the orders most efficiently?
That's a good question. We should have an ideal world and you should do it all. I think it's almost impossible to really efficiently tune your order fulfillment process if you don't already know where your inventory sits. You're always going to be chasing your tail, making assumptions and making commitments to customers based on misinformation. So all of our projects start with a unification of inventory. Before you can start to really optimize your fulfillment paths, you really need to get your inventory house in order. It makes life so much easier further down the track, because all you'll end up doing is failing at your optimization for fulfillment if you don't know where things sit. So might not be the most exciting. It might not be the bit that your e-com team is jumping up and down about offering new experiences to customers and new delivery promises, same day delivery, buy online, pick up in store in 30 minutes. These are fantastic, and the customer propositions that really do advance your offering and do help you to compete. And we work really hard to execute those for our clients, but we do it based on a solid fundamental, which is the understanding of where your inventory sits, how you segment that inventory, what you make available to start, because then you don't end up with those challenges that you see around overselling, around having to apologize or refund folks for not being able to fulfill or not meeting your promises. So as unexciting as it sounds, I say do the heavy lifting in the back end first, fix your inventory, be really comfortable that you've got a solid foundation, and then you can fairly quickly layer. The order fulfillment task can be implemented rather quicker. So start with the inventory and then start to optimize fulfillment.
That's great, thank you. No more questions have come through. So with that, I'll ask you to progress one more slide, please, Ankit. I would like to thank you, Jamie, and yourself, Ankit, as well, for presenting today, and also our audience as well for joining us. We will be in touch in the coming days with the recording of today's session and the Cafe Coffee Day vouchers. In the meantime, though, if you want to continue the conversation with any one of us, then please do. This is the email address to get in touch with. Thank you very much and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.